welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Professional. I'm your host, Riley Ramos, and we are here at WTF Media Studios in New York City. So, usual housekeeping, disclaimer, the opinions in this podcast are our own and may not reflect the position of Beta Alpha Psi or our respective employers as a whole. So, housekeeping, check, we're done. Okay, moving on. So, super excited for our guest, as she is a good friend of mine. We met at Beta Alpha Psi's 2022 annual meeting in Orlando. She is the chapter advocate for Beta Alpha Psi's Atlantic Coast region, an associate at Goldman Sachs, and an adjunct professor at St. John's University. Everybody, please welcome Avneet Nagra to the show.
Thanks, Riley.
Ooh.
It's always exciting to hear that being read, because I always thought, I'm the one reading this about everybody, so it's cool to hear it back about myself.
Oh yeah, no, we love our beefy resumes.
That's right?
It's awesome.
Gotta brag a little bit about ourselves.
I feel that. So Avneet, how did we meet specifically? Do you remember?
As a chapter advocate, many of the people filling in that role, they're faculty advisors. And faculty advisors, I think, are not really born in 1995. So when coming to these annual meetings, I was trying to look for the youngest person in the room to connect with, and I think that was the easiest way to approach you, and naturally you're pretty approachable.
Yeah, and we naturally gravitated towards each other at the board meeting. So we're both serving on the board. Me being the alumni advocate, Avneet being the chapter advocate. So she works with all the chapters in the Atlantic Coast region, and I believe that ranges from the northeast down to as south as Virginia. So where I'm from.
That's right.
So Avneet, how did you get started with BAP?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I went to St. John's, Staten Island, go Johnnies. My freshman year in 2013, there was a group of students that were interested in starting the organization, which was Kappa Zeta 237. So I actually helped to be one of the founding members for that chapter, which was really exciting. Yeah, okay. So starting as a freshman, I was able to kind of be introduced to this organization, and throughout that time I helped our chapter to win various best practices awards. Alongside, I would have to give them a shout out, Christina Church and Emmanuel Duca. They were probably instrumental in keeping me going, and rallied with me every time we wanted to focus on different new strategies. And then I was the director of public relations. I was the past president of the chapter, and then an alumni advisor my graduate year as well. So after that, I couldn't let go of Beta Alpha Psi, and I applied for the now I guess alumni advocate role. And I was representing, even though I'm born and bred in the New York City area, representing the Northwest. So I got to go to a Spokane mid-year meeting. Okay. Yeah, which was super cool. Go across the country and meet some incredible people. I think the highlight of that trip was meeting Mike Brown from Becker CPA.
Oh, cool.
And he was much taller than I anticipated, which was incredible. And then after that, I still couldn't let go, and there was a chapter advocate position open. And I was stoked to be able to connect with faculty members who are, maybe having a difficult time with their chapters on how to build their programming to hit, some sort of chapter status at the end of the day. So that's sort of the current role that I'm in, and all starting a chapter in 2013.
I love that the level of involvement that one gets out of Beta Alpha Psi. It really paves where you take it going into becoming an alumni. It not only ends at your college career, but you can keep going. And I feel like Beta Alpha Psi is one of those organizations where is whatever you want out of it, you got to put something in it, and then the dividends that come out of it, it's so much more. But I guess the key thing there is just that level of involvement and being actively engaged as a student organization, as a member.
That's right.
And then going into post-college career, into, I guess, the big boy, big girl job.
That's right.
So you really do get a lot out of it.
Yeah, and the more you speak up about it, I think those are the more opportunities that come your way. I think we both can say, we ask for something and we ask to do a little bit more. And as an organization, Beta Alpha Psi is happy to allow us to do that.
Oh, for sure. And so even with starting this podcast, I feel like we have a lot of flexibility to do what you want. And then when it comes to the interview, so a little pro tip for anyone that's interested in becoming a mid-year rep or alumni advocate. One of the questions that we'll typically ask you during the interview is, what do you want to do during your term as whatever position you're applying for? And so keep that in the back of your pocket, make sure you have something ready, and really the position is what you make of it. And so this is just one of the examples of how being actively engaged as alumni, you're able to do what you want and really have that kind of like grassroots initiative. So, but yeah, and the main thing for this episode, titled A Private Conversation. So both Avneet and I, we've both have public accounting experience. So we started our career in public. I feel like Beta Alpha Psi gives you a launching pad, an easy launching pad into public accounting. But really, that's not everything that is in the field of accounting, finance, whatnot. There's more outside of that. And so we'll get to take a deep dive into the private side of it, so industry.
Yeah.
And
we won't keep it private. We'll tell you all you need to know about it.
Yeah, we'll keep it private to our various channels that we're on, and so, but you guys will get obviously the inside scoop. I like that. But yeah, Avneet. So how did well, first off, what did you like about your time in public? Yeah,
so I really enjoyed. So I started my career at PwC in the New York office, in the asset management, specifically the alternative investment space. And I did that because somebody told me to, and I had no clue what it would mean. But I think it was interesting to see how that space, companies could take people's money and turn it into more money, right? That's your private equity and your hedge funds. And within that, I as a first year associate on any audit, you're working on very, very simple tasks on tying things out, putting, tick marks on PDFs. And the one part of the audit that I was on that was the most interesting to me was the valuation part, because these, private firms hold various different investments. Part of the audit is to verify the valuation of it, right? What if a company is saying company A is valued at X, is it or is it not, right? Can we actually trust that? And that isn't as cut or dry, as
Really?
just cash tied to the balance sheet. Yeah. So it was a little bit of an art, right? There's an art and a science that was going into this. And it was cool that as a first year, I was able to have like partner exposure, which was awesome. And I think at that point, have a partner listen to me as 23 years old entering the workforce, I knew that was something that I wanted to pursue. Specifically, maybe not necessarily like within the firm, but that's generally where I started looking at. I don't really want to do cash or inventory or any of the other items that we're checking in the audit. I think valuation is my space.
Really? So you essentially got to find what you wanted to focus on, and then that in itself, fast forwarding to where we're at now, that kind of leads you into, okay, making that move into private, I kind of want to focus in that sector.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I would have. I think the public experience helped because I understood every single thing about the private space, like funds specifically. I knew how a fund operated. I knew what parts were the most risky. I think being in public and starting that, I was able to know everything about that business, and then moving specifically into the valuation of, various different funds. I think that was helpful to know like exactly what is it that I'm interested in, because otherwise like I would have had no clue. Truthfully, because it's hard. How are we supposed to know? But I think like some skills that I learned from BAP was just like asking the right questions, understanding what exists, and never taking like sure, I will just do the bare minimum. What can I do to ask for more? Yeah. And that sort of comes in this space that's continuously growing right now.
Now, did you always know that you wanted to be in accounting or finance?
We were talking, this weekend, I wanted to be an astronaut when I grew up.
Oh man,
which is pretty cool. Instead I turned into an accountant. But my bachelor's is actually in finance. So Sweet. As we know, Beta Alpha Psi is accounting, finance, and information systems. So I have the finance route as my undergrad, and then I did the master's in accounting. So I
awesome.
tried to
Okay.
combine two, and my goal was to be in some sort of like a bank or you know,
Yeah.
more of a finance role. And I think using like the knowledge that I got from my finance classes, as well as the practical knowledge I got from being in public, I can make a more informed career decision when it comes to being in the private space and in more of that like finance role that I would have wanted to begin with.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and then how did you learn about opportunities for your current position?
LinkedIn, 100%. Yeah, I think
Okay.
LinkedIn, I think talking to my network. After PwC, I moved to a valuation consulting role at Alvarez and Marsal, also in New York.
Okay.
And that part was really exciting because you're essentially doing the valuation of particular companies as a third party. So essentially, anybody could hire a valuation firm,
Okay.
and they would perform, you know, whatever is the appropriate for debt or credit investments or equity investments. So I worked on a variety of those things, and I think I just was very vocal about this is where I think I would enjoy my career going. I think now, hopefully at the end of the day, we're looking at like some sort of a C-suite role when we get to that role.
Yeah.
Of that point in our life, not nearly there yet. But focusing on, you know, what active steps do I need to take to get there. And then
Right.
I think moving to GS was just the best for my career at that time. And I think I'm stoked with the team that I work on and the people that I'm around and like the work that I do, that I'm genuinely excited to be there every day.
Now, where you're working now, is it
Yeah.
a smaller team than when you were in public?
Probably about the same size.
Same size?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
about maybe 8 to 10 members on our team now. And it was
Nice.
just the same for the audit space.
Gotcha. Because so for me, when I was in public accounting, you got to essentially work with the whole tax department. Now
Got it.
now I guess to put it in perspective, I was at a one office firm.
Mm-hmm.
I believe maybe 40 to 60 employees total between accounting and assurance.
Cool.
And so it was really like you pretty much knew everyone in the office.
Yeah.
And then moving into where I'm at now with Harbor Group, it's literally like I think I'm the only guy on a 6-7 person team.
Wow.
So all ladies,
Yeah.
super strong ladies. They are able to hold their own, and they
I love
definitely-
it.
They definitely
Girl power.
exactly. I love it. But yeah, so with that being said, and how I was able to learn about that position was
Yeah.
because my now supervisor, she was a senior at the same firm that I was at, the one office CPA firm. And then so she made the move to Harbor Group, and then we still kept in touch. And then a year later, she reached out to me and asked how things were doing,
Yeah.
how things were going. And for me, it was like I kind of already knew that I wanted to transition out of public accounting at that point. So it kind of was this nest, like this golden goose egg that just fell into my lap. And,
Yeah.
we were able to talk about it over lunch and basically make that transition into the private space very easily. I mean, I think at that point, my interview was essentially just asking about like any expectations, making sure that
Sure.
everyone's on the same page.
That's incredible.
And I don't think I even went through like the initial screening.
Yeah. And it's like much more of like a stress-free environment.
Yeah.
And like goes to tell like how important like building your network is and
Yeah.
like maintaining the professional relationships
Yeah.
you know, that you start your career with, because you might not find the work the most rewarding particularly there, but like
Mhm.
people are awesome.
Yeah.
And you keep that relationship, which got you where you are.
Well, and then also my supervisor, she was at the same conference that Svet and I met.
Oh,
at. So
awesome.
she was at the Anaheim meeting, and so
Yeah.
like she's also Beta Alpha Psi, so it really does speak to maintaining that network. And I mean, it was one
Definitely.
of those things where we could have crossed paths, and it was cool to think that, hey, we were both at that meeting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then
Speaking of old I think the first meeting you and I both were at was 2016 Towson.
yes,
Yeah, that was
Oh
the
my gosh,
first
you were at
meeting.
that?
Yeah.
oh,
That we
man.
were both at, and then we went to, you know, competing various times.
Yeah,
throughout
did
the
you do
time.
any of the competition?
Yeah, we
groups?
actually won best practices that year. Just a little
Do you-
humble brag.
Did you remember what your
Good or
topic
great.
was? Good or great.
Good or great. And that we won. We ended up winning that all the way through nationals that year as well.
Oh man, did you?
Yeah, I was pretty
Okay.
stoked about it.
I think we got second place at the regional meeting, and highway robbery. We definitely should have won first place.
All right, I'll rally for you.
Right.
Unless it was against good or great, then
it was not.
Okay,
it was
okay.
a different topic, but and when we were trying to decide what topic to compete in,
Yeah.
like our chapter at the time definitely was not at a good point. So we were like, how can we even compete in that when we're not even at good yet?
Got it.
And
here you are, though.
Yeah.
So if you're representing your chapter, I think they're doing far better than great.
Oh yeah. So it's been great. If anything, the whole journey to seeing the chapter grow to what it was pre-COVID, and then obviously COVID took a real big hit on the organization, but
Sure.
now we're seeing chapters bounce back. And I think during COVID, my chapter was, I think, literally five students.
Oh man.
So
They're growing.
Just the officers alone, and now they're back to like 25, maybe approaching 30.
Yeah.
And so they're really getting themselves out there. It's a super,
That's exciting.
like, hardworking group.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and I mean, with that being said, well, first, when it came to that transition, why did you make the move?
I think the first thing that I was really looking for, and I was just teaching about this in my marketing class, the way we operate and the world now doesn't mean I am an accountant and I go to work and that is all I do. We have these component lifestyles, and each of us want to do, we don't just have one profession, right? We have various different passions, and we want to make sure that we're able to achieve those passions. And I think one of them for me was like a healthy work-life balance.
Yes.
I don't mind working long hours. I want to put the time into something that I like genuinely care about at the end of the day, and that was sort of one of them. Not that I genuinely didn't care about the work that I was doing, but nothing really excited me to the point where this is changing. I have to like check up on, live current events to make sure, if I'm not up to date on my current events, I can't do my job the best of my ability. So I think that was one thing. And then another part was just being able to like focus on like the work on my time. Like I enjoy exercising. I enjoy being home and spending time with my dog. And I think with work, I wanted to work with a team that prioritized like our well-being and the way we wanted to work after we've sort of, proven that we can produce high quality work. So I think that initiated the reason of I should look at something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel that, because I mean, as far as for me, it was like exploring your passion was one of the big things where I felt like, okay, preparing tax returns, I'm getting a lot of experience getting to know these different industries, these different companies that we're preparing returns for. I'm learning a lot about the industry, like with real estate and whatnot. That actually helped a lot when making this transition to Harbor Group.
Yeah.
But as far as my passions go, I just felt that it wasn't really filling that, I guess, void. For, like, at least for a creative space.
Of course.
So seeing something else that, like, okay, Harbor Group gave me that time. It was a more structured schedule, not your typical, I guess, busy season per se. Even though being in public accounting, it gave me a lot of flexibility.
Yep.
But maybe it was a little too much flexibility, it's a nice problem to have.
Yeah.
But for me, I personally need a little bit more structure, and kind of seeing that, like, that typical 9 to 5 schedule. Like, okay, this actually did kind of work out for me. It was something at first that I like scoffed at. That it's like, no, flexibility, it's where it's at. And then finally I come over to private with a more structured schedule, and it's like, okay, now I actually have time to do what I want, because I kind of got lost in the work. And which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you want to also to find that balance, that work-life balance. And so having...
And we're like young.
Yeah.
Like we're just starting in our career, and it's so hard to like...
That's true.
know, at least at first, right? And we go through like, 12 years K to 12, and then another 4 or 5 through college, and they're like, these are all the deadlines, this is when your homework's due, this is the time you have class, and then you come to this space and you're like, just exist and get all the work done, and here are some priorities. So it's, some structure, I would agree. We want the flexibility to do the things we want, but to some extent we're going from being structured for like 15 to 18 years of our life to like just get it done when you want. You could figure it out. That's right, adulting.
And then also with growth opportunities too, because
that's right.
At the annual meeting, I led a leadership activity
Right,
on
right.
growth mindset.
Yeah.
And so one of those things was how to, I guess, keep that momentum of being on an upwards movement in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times where you can be, I guess, quote unquote, stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I don't have my my CPA license, and so that's
I
kind
don't
of
either.
that's you need that in
That's
order
right.
to progress in public accounting, because you can only stay at a senior level. Now there are other I guess special circumstances where you don't necessarily need it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe being an EA and
Right? Like they'll make some exceptions for certain aspects.
yeah.
But there's going to come a point in time where you're going to say, I want to be, I'm here for this long and I want to take the next step. And they're like, okay, take this test and pass it.
Exactly. And so that could be the holdup for some people's career
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to public accounting. So I knew for me that it wasn't necessarily for me. So it was one of those kind of that fork in the road where, hey, you hunker down and you get it,
Mm-hmm.
or you find a different path to keep that momentum going to excel in your career. So it was kind of an easier decision for me that, hey, it's time that I kind of switched gears and moved into the private space.
Yeah.
And so that's
That's
the
a
growth
plus.
mindset piece to it.
I think I was similar to your case, right? It does get to a point where you can't like get the promotions that you want, and you can't be growing in that hierarchical standpoint that we
Mm-hmm.
would have wanted to. So I sort of thought of like maybe I'll pause on this or not do it. And Sveta at the annual meeting in
Yeah.
Las Vegas, we were having like a lovely chat, and she was like, it's just worth hunkering down and doing it. So I actually did start studying again because of her inspiration about it,
Yeah.
which was exciting. So I mean, stay tuned.
Yeah.
To see if it actually gets done. But I think another incentive is the test is changing. So if I can just get it
Sure.
done before the end of the year, then I don't have to worry about many of those changes. But I think it may not help career-wise, but you may, talk to somebody at some point in your life that like feels like this is the right thing at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So even though maybe for people that, got their exams done like a year out of college, maybe that's not the journey for me specifically. Alphabet soup after your name sometimes is a nice thing, a
is.
nice little touch. So I think for me, hopefully down the road, we'll be chatting again and I'll have that license in my hand.
No, I like that. And for the listeners who don't know, Sveta is my wife.
Yes.
When we actually mentioned how we met in an earlier episode
Mm-hmm.
too. So she actually just got her CPA
Woohoo!
certification not too long ago. So
Cheers,
we love
Sveta.
that. So yeah, powerful women. We love it.
I love it.
But yeah, and then so going into the next topic, our exit plan.
Mm-hmm.
So did you have something set in place when you're, I guess, coming to that realization of,
Yeah.
okay, I need to start thinking about next steps? Because I personally, I dragged it out.
I see.
So wait, what was your
I
experience
didn't. So I found out that I was going to be put on, we had just finished a busy season when I was in public, and I thought I was going to be put onto a client that was going to be busy again.
Mhm.
After we were busy. So the April 30th is the deadline for privates to
Okay.
file. So I thought I was going to be put, it was like May 4th. Somebody wanted to talk to me, and I had just put my 2 weeks in immediately, and I didn't have anything lined up.
Mhm.
And I just
Wow.
knew that I needed to not be busy again because
Yeah.
it would have been, a little bit more of a burnout. And again, this was like May 2020. So like in March, the world shut down, and 3 months later, I've been sitting in front of my computer. We don't know what's going on. I can't go outside. I can't do anything. I just know I can't do what I can't just keep doing this.
Yeah.
And that sort of, inspired me to, now you have nothing lined up, go find another job. And then it did within that 2 weeks time span. I was able to talk to somebody at A&M and get that started. I think I started in July of that year. So
Yeah.
it was like a pretty quick turnaround. And
That's
I
nice.
think it was just, I was, lucky, right place, right time. It was like anybody that wanted a job, it was their market.
It was, yeah. No,
And
it
same
was a
with
good
even the
time for
switch
sure.
over to GS. That again, it's a market for people that are interested in getting a job that is paying a little bit more. You can negotiate significantly more when you have that upper hand. So I think that was sort of the driving factor there. I don't know if I'll ever have a plan when I get to the end. But it's cool to just trust the process.
Yeah. Well, because for me, when it finally came to that realization to start considering other alternative employment, I definitely dragged it out. For me, it was an internal struggle of like, hey, like maybe I'll give it 6 more months. Maybe I'll give it another 3 months. Another busy season. And so for me, I attend like a brunch with my old faculty advisor, and one of my other close friends at the other firms.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, and they see how I was from month to month. And it's like, Riley, you're not your usual self. So and it took my network to essentially tell me that, hey, it's time to move on. It's like you gave it a fair share time to kind of like stew over, but it's time for you guys to think about next steps. So really, it was my network that helped me like get through.
That's awesome.
And finally, when we did actually be more active towards getting new employment, the process itself, it was a breeze.
That's awesome.
Like as soon it was honestly just me.
It's
that
was initial I'm comfortable here. This is like where I've been since I started.
Yeah, first big boy job.
And then it's a little sentimental to like try to part from that. So for sure. Did you find that your network helped you with like interview prep, or hey, I'll look at your resume, or are there positions open that we could refer you for? Yeah.
Yeah. So if it wasn't for my network, it probably would have been a tougher search. But really, like my network, they set me up for success.
That's
when
awesome.
It came to prepping for the interview, making sure that I knew what the actual day-to-day responsibilities were.
Yeah.
So really, when it came to that first day at the new job, I already knew half the people on the team.
That's awesome.
And at least for us in the Norfolk area, a lot of us came from different public accounting firms.
Got it.
So
it's a small world.
Oh yeah, and it's really cool to see that. Hey, I'm in a new space, but familiar faces.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think that's similar for me too. Whether it was my friends or my family or people that I've worked with, when they realize that you're not yourself, they're willing to invest a little bit of extra time helping you research or look at your resume and see if it's formatted the right way for a particular job, or like practice interviewing with you. And I think some of those things that could be a little bit scary when trying to take that jump, I found, at least for myself, there were quite a few people that were willing to just like listen. Right. And that comes along with, being able to make that switch in a less scary way.
Yeah. And do you still maintain relationships?
Oh my God, 100%. They were in my wedding, which was so exciting. Yeah. And we had a traditional Indian wedding week, and they wore traditional clothes and they danced exactly to the music that was picked out for them. So it was really nice. And, I went to their weddings, my husband and I, we went to participate in theirs, and it was just, it feels so great. We used to call ourselves the girls' room. So gosh. It's so exciting to like go from that, right? Even a group of people, we actually interned together, then started together at the same time, and then, have since all but one person has parted ways with the firm, but we keep in touch. And when it comes to, it actually turned out that, coming to GS, one of my friends was our auditor. So it was an interesting experience to then be on the other side and like have a good relationship with the audit team, and make those conversations much easier as well.
Yeah, and I guess it's also important to say that even though you're taking these next steps, you're going into a different industry, you're no longer going to be at that firm that you were with, that it's still important to maintain those bridges.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know if you guys use the same verbiage, but boomerangs.
Yeah.
Do y'all have boomerangs?
We don't. I don't think we call it that. But of course, if you want to go ahead and explain the boomerang term, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for boomerangs, they're essentially those who have left public accounting, went to go explore something else, and then decide that, hey, this actually is not what I thought it was going to be, and so let's go back to where whatever firm we were originally at.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's not in that same exact role or that same exact team, but many people realize that like the organizations that we work at are huge.
Yeah.
They do many different things. So maybe what I'm doing right now may not be for me, but leaving and, potentially trying another opportunity, you could come back and come to a different group.
That is true. I
And
forget there
internal
are different
mobility is
departments.
like also, a huge option for people that might not like their particular role right now.
Yeah, that you don't necessarily have to leave the firm as a whole, but you can make lateral moves into
Yeah.
other departments.
That's right. But if you're not like vocal about it, if you're not talking to like your network, right? Maintaining those good relationships and of course, doing a good job.
I feel that.
Then it's gonna be a little bit harder to make that move
Right.
in general.
No, that's a very real thing too, and I guess a lot of people, they don't really consider that, where it's not all black and white.
Yeah, there's lots of gray.
Yeah, and then Avneet, what have you gained since making the transition? Like, how have things changed for the better?
Yeah, I think I got a sense of confidence in myself and my abilities. Not that I wasn't before, but now I can be the expert. And I think that's
Yes.
one thing that I gained. Not that I was that all of those things, but now I feel empowered by my network. I feel like what I'm talking about and the work that I'm doing, I'm truly, truly passionate about. I go home and I do research about it on my own time. I look into various certifications that I can take. And, whether it's, specifically at GS, I'm learning something new every single day. And it's such a fulfilling opportunity to be a young professional, to be a faculty member on that other aspect, right?
Which is wild.
To have, I know, which is crazy that there's a group of kids that listen to everything I say a couple times a week, which is incredible. But to learn something new every day, it's so incredibly fulfilling, and you get a sense of purpose. And at this point where you're like, I'm a little bit lost, I feel like I could give back a little bit more because now I'm much more secure and much more confident and comfortable where I am and comfortable asking for additional opportunities to keep moving forward. Do you find the same, for yourself?
I think you pretty much said it perfectly. The sense of fulfillment, that it's like, hey, I actually like enjoy what I'm doing on the day to day. That it's a different kind of attitude that you're bringing to the table. And so for me, when it came to starting this new position, it felt like a breath of fresh air, like a weight off my shoulders kind of thing, where, hey, if anything, this is like a new beginning, the next chapter in my career. Almost like that feeling of like first day of school.
Yeah.
And so
of course,
like I got excited about it. And then now that I'm going through the motions of it, it's something that like, hey, this is also giving me more time to do other things like running this podcast, side hustles. I mean, we were talking about like the different components and whatnot, and so I got to really explore other things that I wanted to do and have that that supportive group around me. So with my team, like I was telling them the other day that, hey, if they need if they need advice on certain things that I feel like I have more experience in because of being able to explore these different passions, it's something that I can bring to the table and whatnot. So I told them that I was coming out here for the podcast, and really it's the whole group was like, hey, just put us on the podcast, send us the link.
I love it.
Like we're essentially kind of we'll start a whole like a fan club.
I love it.
So
I love it.
It's that kind of stuff where you see a lot of support from the people around you, and that was something that I feel like I needed some, like, in a way, validation that,
of course,
that what I'm doing, I'm not necessarily wasting my time.
Yeah. And from like a professional standpoint, you want a group of like professionals and coworkers and peers and leaders that are going to support you and bring you up on your endeavors at work and, outside of work. That's going to help just bring that general positive environment.
No, completely agree. Now, Avneet, as a closer, how has Beta Alpha Psi helped you become a professional?
I think Beta Alpha Psi has helped me understand that I need to be a whole person when I come to work every day. I can't just be good at accounting. I can't just be good at finance or valuation. I have to have the soft skills to talk to people. I have to recognize different personality types and conform my style to theirs for us to collaborate in the best way possible. I don't think Beta Alpha Psi has also taught me how to think on the fly with I did, Project Run With It in the Milwaukee meeting, and how to, in a very short time frame, collaborate and come up with the best solution, and how to present it to another group of people.
Oh, yeah.
So being well versed and being able to like communicate my ideas along with incorporating other people's. I don't think I would be the professional that I am, and how confident I am in the things that I'm doing, and how vocal I am in the things I'm interested in without Beta Alpha Psi, without a doubt.
No, I completely
Yeah.
agree. If anything,
It's hard,
like I was super shy, and it's something that
which is hard to believe.
Yeah, right.
It's hard to believe now. Yeah.
I keep wondering if like why are these people surprised whenever I say that? And so it's been a complete 180 when it came to like when I first started in Beta Alpha Psi versus now, and then seeing all the other things that I'm being involved with. So
That's
if
right.
Riley when did I start? 2015.
Mm-hmm.
If 2015 Riley saw like where things were going to be now,
Yeah.
he would have thought that I was
It was a
insane.
lie.
Yeah.
Look at
Like,
that.
like who is this kid?
You
kind
did
of
it.
thing.
And
So,
we're doing it every day,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is the best.
It's been a great journey. So and I'm only 28.
Yeah.
So we still
That's it. We got plenty
of time.
plenty of years to go.
Yeah. But with that, we're about to run out of time here. So thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us from whatever platform you're tuning in from. Also, check out the show notes for our various social media pages and official BAP swag. And with that, also,
Oh yeah.
Avneet is rocking the alumni sweater.
It is so comfortable.
It does look super
Very
comfy.
fleeced. It is rainy day in New York City, and I've stayed dry.
Yeah.
I like it.
Rain's not going to stop us.
Yep. It's cozy.
What's the festival that's happening outside?
Oh yeah, we went to the San Gennaro feast
I
in
like
Little
that.
Italy.
I like that. And so it was a good time, too. Definitely had
A lot of food.
a lot of food. I'm stuffed.
Yeah.
But more to come later, too. And so that's our official BAP swag that Avneet is rocking.
Plug.
And I love it. And so, Avneet, thank you for guesting on our podcast. Always a great time when you're around.
Thanks, Riley.
Of course. And with that, we'll see you on the next episode of Becoming a Professional. Hi everyone, Riley here with the credits. This episode, titled A Private Conversation, was hosted and produced by yours truly, Riley Ramos, and accompanied by our special guest, Avneet Nagra. The episode was recorded and edited by WTF Media Studios in New York City. Music was sourced from Resolute Audio and Fine-Tune Music on Adobe Stock. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode of Becoming a Professional.